Good morning. Today we're going to be talking about the book of Ecclesiastes. We'll be in chapter 1, verses 1 through 11. Now, as you turn to this Old Testament book, I want to bring you up to speed on some of the background of Ecclesiastes. The book of Ecclesiastes was written in 935 AD by Solomon, son of David. Now, Solomon was at this time the king of Jerusalem. Solomon is also the author of the preceding book, the book of Proverbs. When scholars classify books of the Bible, they often classify the book of Ecclesiastes as wisdom literature. This means that this book is especially concerned with helping readers cope with the practical and the philosophical issues of life. Like Proverbs, Ecclesiastes is the biblical answer to the search for truth. Ecclesiastes shows us that since we and our works are futile and that they are destined to perish, we must not waste our lives trying to justify our existence with worldly pursuits that ultimately mean nothing. Let's read chapter 1, verses 1 through 3. The words of the teacher, son of David, king in Jerusalem. Absolute futility, says the teacher. Absolute futility. Everything is futile. What does a man gain for all of his efforts that he labors at under the sun? The author opens up this book with his findings from his endeavors. Everything is futile. The Hebrew word for futile basically means vapor or breath, but comes to mean vain. Now, the futility of everything does not mean that something is altogether worthless, but it implies that something is at best only fleeting, or at best only temporal in value. In the context of verse 3, which said, "What does man gain for all of his efforts that he labors at under the sun?" put with the context of the rest of the book of Ecclesiastes, it means that things done under the sun are only of temporary significance, and as a result, they should not be set against eternity, for they have no real value. Also, the phrase under the sun is used, it means here, or on this earth. Let's read verses 4 through 7. A generation goes, and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises, the sun sets. Panting, it returns to the place where it rises. Gusting to the south, turning to the north. Turning, turning goes the wind, and the wind returns in its cycles. All the streams flow to the sea, yet the sea is never full. The streams are flowing to the place, and they flow there again. In these verses, Solomon is trying to make the point that the sun, wind, and streams are constantly in motion, but they never accomplish anything. All is returning to where they started. In the same way, generations mentioned in verse 4 come and go, never changing the world in any fundamental way. Now we're going to come back to this in just a moment. I also want to point out that Solomon also says that each generation will pass away. Now let's look at verse 8 through 11. All things are wearisome. Man is unable to speak. The eye is not satisfied by seeing, or the ear filled with hearing. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done. There is nothing new under the sun. Can one say about anything, "Look, this is new"? It has already existed in the ages before us. There is no remembrance of those who came before, and of those who will come after. There will also be no remembrance by those who follow them. Now verse 8 speaks of things being wearisome. All words are weary is another translation of this. Human words cannot adequately explain the world. Similarly, we neither see nor hear anything that fully satisfies us. Solomon writes that there is nothing new under the sun, and that it has already existed in the ages before us. It is important to note that he is not talking about new artworks or new technology. This is why I told you we'd come back to. He is not talking about my new iPhone that has never existed before. He's not talking about a new book that just came out that has never existed before. What he is trying to make the point is that these new things are all variations of things that have already existed. They do not deliver humanity from the bondage of death. There's only one new thing that can deliver humanity from the bondage of death, and that is Jesus Christ. Finally, in verse 11, Solomon says that no one is remembered. The purpose of this verse is to show that people move on and that their fame and glory have no lasting significance. Though some names are remembered, such as Abraham Lincoln or George Washington, we remember those names for one thing they did, not their life. People are often forgotten. A human name will not carry any weight in eternity, only the name associated with Christ. The book of Ecclesiastes is a book of Solomon searching for the truth. The answer that he finds are the same in each situation: absolute futility. We should not put our stock in worldly things. Not all worldly things are bad, and some are good for a time, but they will never last. They won't even compare to a drop in a bucket with the rest of eternity. We need to put our stock in heavenly things by reading the Word of God and having a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, who can change lives. Only stock in heavenly things can carry over. We ought to share this with others by spreading the gospel so that they too will know how to put their stock in heaven. Where you invest your stock, either in worldly things or in spiritual things, is where your heart will be. Now, for 1 second, I just want to tell you a quick story. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this game called Minecraft. I spent 1 year building a world in Minecraft, and in one day, my game was gone after my computer crashed. I spent probably a good 80 hours in that game building skyscrapers and other magnificent buildings and creations, all completely destroyed when my computer crashed. Everything is futile. I want to go back to this idea that I just mentioned, where you invest your stock is either in worldly things or in spiritual things. That's where your heart's going to be. Let me read to you Matthew 6, 19 through 21. Don't collect for yourselves, this is verse 19, don't collect for yourselves treasures on this earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But collect for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves don't break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Thank you.